Greetings one and all. I hope everybody's well. It's Thursday, February the 2nd, 2023. And we're doing a live stream. We're doing Macro Talk 2. This is Allan Wall's Photography. It's a channel that I have. Can you hear me? Yes, Graham can hear me. Sound and vision is fine in the UK, so it's probably fine over here too. And I have got a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but you guys are so good about questions, I'm going to have to be careful. But there are a couple of things. In fact, there are 9 things. I'll go as fast as I can. Stereo. You ever taken a stereo photograph? You want to? Good. I'm going to start talking about it next week, not this week like I said. I met with Rik Littlefield last night, the inventor of Zerene. And he's a huge stereo fan. And I spent quite a long time talking to him about his workflow. And he's recently changed it. He's changing his online documentation. And I got a really good insight into how he does it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass on all the information that I've got to you. We'll even talk some about just doing stereo photography. So that if you don't want to mess with the synthetic stereo in Zerene, you can do it just with a camera. And the reason is in June or July or August, this summer, one of the months is going to be a stereo competition. And you won't believe who's going to judge that with me. Yes, Rik Littlefield is going to judge it with me. So you'll be really on point there. So that's coming up. If you don't know how to do stereo, you need to watch the next few live streams and we'll talk about it. Wow, loads of folks here today. Doesn't look like my data is working though. Oh well, not to worry. The written stuff is. Thank you to my Decon 90 supply chain. Jan Nelson. Allan Rechtenwald. That is probably more Decon 90 on my desk than there is in the rest of the world combined. If you don't have any and don't understand, or if you do understand that you need some, because it is almost like magic in what we do with small insects, then this is all going to you. This was given by Jan Nelson and it was given by Allan Rechtenwald for you. So all you have to do is tell me that you want some. And if you want some and you just can't find it, that's great. If you want some and you can't afford it, that's great. I'm not going to ask any of those questions, but what I am going to ask is, if you can afford it, and if you would buy it, if you find it, would you consider making a donation to cover some of the shipping? That's all I would ask. Oh no, there's 2 things I'd ask. Shipping and bottles. I found the best things to send it in are these Nalgene bottles that will last for eternity. And yours will come in this, so you'll be 100 cc's plus in each of these. 100 cc's will last the average macro photographer a lifetime. It takes me 3 years to go through that much, because you have to dilute it so much. If you want some, you'll never use a litre. You don't need a litre. 100 cc's will be great. I'll send it to you. You've just got to give me your address, and if you can afford it, a little bit of money. I got a bottle last year and sent it out to 9 people and kept 100 for myself. And the shipping on it was like $150 after they were all sent out. I didn't realize that until I added it up. That's all. So all you have to do is go to my website, allanwallsphotography.com. While you're over there, if you go to the donations page, put your $5 in or whatever, and then leave a note. Say, this is for some Nalgene and give me your, for some Decon 90 and give me your address. If you're in England, you need to put in more than $5 because of you understand, right? It's not that complicated. Thanks to Bill Wheeler. Huge thanks to Bill Wheeler. Bill's a friend of mine and the chairman of our board and just an all-round good chap. He knows that I've been running low on MF12s because of a little bit of you know, wearing them out action. So he just sent me 2 MF12s to replenish the fund. Fantastic. That is so cool. We're going to be talking about lenses today a little bit, but yeah, so my MF12s are back up to par. That's a good thing. And if they look like microscope objectives, they are. We're also going to talk about those in a minute. But I'm going to pause just for a second, long enough to go and see what photographer 85 has to say from Vienna, which is not a sausage, it's a place in Austria. And he has to say this: good evening. He was early, he's not anymore though, because we're on time. Already has a question. I've had a few bugs preserved in alcohol and their wax coating seems to flake off. Can I clean that up? Yes, you can. There are a couple of ways to do it. Bees are particularly bad for getting wax on them, and by strange coincidence, sorry, you probably through looking at those objectives, by strange coincidence, it's beeswax that they get on them, which is just, yeah, it's one of those strange mysteries in life. But there are 2 ways to get it off. If you have a dried bee, and a lot of people keep their bees dried, you can actually comb it out of their hairs, and that's what I prefer because it does flake off, kind of like dandruff. Once you wet a bee, you're going down a road of misery there. But there are some chemicals that dissolve wax, and I am going to draw a blank on the one that I have. Yeah, if I can't remember it in the next little bit, I'll run in the room next door and grab it. But there is a wax remover that liquefies it, and if you're doing a wet wash on a bee, which I don't recommend unless you have to, then that stuff will get rid of it. If anybody knows what it is, bio something or other, yeah, remind me, and then I'll pretend I knew. Patrick, welcome. From Graham, yes. Graham just got a Mitutoyo 20X and is experiencing vibrations. Yeah. That is the problem at 20 plus. It's just anything and everything vibrates. It gets really, really tough. I've struggled with that for years. But 60 meters from a road is too close. That's a lot closer than I was to a busy road. Well, not even a busy road, a road that had the occasional medium-sized truck go by, and it would absolutely shake my my system at the old house. In fact, when the air conditioner went on, we have air conditioners over here because it gets so hot in the summer. And when that thing would kick on in the evening, this is 2 doors down from me, so it's a lot more than 60 meters away. The pad that it was on, concrete pad, would vibrate as the motor kicked in. And if I was shooting at the time, I would see it right there in that frame. The whole thing would shake. So it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much. It's at 20 and above, I think, when people start thinking about getting an isolation table, or suspending something from the ceiling and going for it. What I do is, honestly, I did it at the old house and I'm doing it again now, though I didn't think I'd have to. I'm doing all my 20X and above at night. I mean, late at night when nobody's around. So I'm afraid I don't have any good news for you. Lance, good evening. And Robert, greetings from Ocala, Robert. I was going to mention your name in just a second. Let me see what the context was. Oh, it was your objectives. These are Robert's objectives. They're not mine. The ones I'm pointing at that you can't see. That's a visual effect there. Let me. I'm getting better at finding my pointer. I've made it yellow so it shows up on my computer screen because I've got so many screens now. I'll lose it. But yeah, these are Robert's. And he got these in an auction and wanted me to take a look at them, see if there was anything in here that was interesting. So I looked at them. I've actually taken pictures with several of them and discussed them at length with Rik last night because he's very knowledgeable in these areas. Turns out that 2 of these are phase contrast objectives. One of them with one of them's a 63 times power objective, absolutely gorgeous. And this will probably take good pictures, but you'll have to use it with a cover slip and a very, very flat subject, maybe something under glass on a slide. The other one was a 10x phase contrast, which is going to be a very short working distance, both of these, like a fraction of a millimeter. This is a lovely plan 40x objective. These are all just standard finite objectives, the way they always used to be. Then there's a whole cluster of Bausch and Lombs, and these are just dead simple little 4, 5, 7 times objectives, very low power. Incredibly sharp in the middle, surprisingly so, but with lots and lots of distortion around the edges. Then there's a bunch of these tiny little things that say Tech Inst on them. Technical Institute, probably that's where they were stolen from. But these are just really dead simple little finite objectives too. And they don't have any data on the barrel, so you don't know what length tube you need, but I was shooting with these at 150. And then the most interesting thing of all was these ones, which are actually, I think, Anton von Leeuwenhoek's original objectives. I've never seen anything quite like these little puppies. These things look like chess people, but they're not. They're objectives, and again, they're surprisingly, shockingly clear in the middle, but boy, they're rubbishy around the outside. Anyway, great fun, and if you ever get a chance to do that, the reason I'm showing you these is to remind me to tell you that's a great fun thing to do. You can buy a lot of, I don't know what Robert paid for these, but it was something crazy, like it came out to about $1 each or something. And going through them and trying them out is a great way to learn about this kind of photography through objectives, because you have to learn all about the different ways that you set them up on your camera and the problems you're going to have, like extremely short working distances. We talked about a special way to shoot with this one, and that is something I'm going to try. I'm going to build a light box to shoot on for this. I think this might be fantastic. We'll just have to wait and see. So thank you. Robert, I'm glad you were up there at the top of the list saying hi, so I remembered that. Ray, good afternoon, and Ray's got a question. What dilution do you use with glycerin water mixture to apply to drying eyes? I put about, it depends on how big the bug is, how dry the bug is, whether I'm protecting it from drying out or trying to reconstitute the eye. But either way, it's somewhere between 5 and 15%. Above 15%, it gets too goopy, but around the glycerin just holds the water in the eye longer, and if it's going to work, it works pretty quickly. So that's about it. And I paint it on like I do with Decon 90. I don't soak them in it. I don't want them completely drenched in glycerin. It is a bit difficult to get off. You have to kind of rinse it off if it leaves a residue. Good question, though. Let me see. What's it like in England today? Is it rainy and wintry? I imagine it probably is. Good evening, Dragos, and Walter, and Ingolf. Kuntz, welcome. Gosh, I've been meaning to write to you, Ingolf. I hope all is well in Germany. Still dead of winter, right? Yeah, till June, I think. There's a message here to remind. What does it remind me of? It's reminded me of something else, but I'll tell you what it says. Oh, something about privacy. Forget about that. I'm going to remind you this, though. We only have one rule. We only have one rule in both of my live streams, and it's the same rule. And it has been broken. And you know who you are. That's what my head teacher used to say at the school, and everybody looked at me when he said, "You know who you are," because I just looked guilty. But anyway, this person knows who he is. We are civil in this group. If anybody's going to be rude, it'll be me. but everybody else has to be friendly to one another, or just not say anything to anybody. But we can't have fights in the peanut gallery, because I will hate to do it, but I will ban you or put the robots on you, one or the other. Talking about robots, there's a lot about AI and other robot-y stuff that's got people a bit upset these days, and I understand why. You will not believe what the robots that Carlos has built, the ones that do the photo competition. Well, they went to him today and told him that I, in a live stream, used a 4-letter word beginning with S and ending in T, and I'd used it twice. And the robots, the sneaky little robots that they are, said I'd only mentioned Carlos once, but that's Carlos, that I'd only mentioned once, but I'd said that bad word twice. Can you believe it? Sneaking around behind my back to give him that kind of information. So anyway, Carlos, that'll move me way up. He'll probably be up there above Mitutoyo in this particular video. That'll teach him. Okay, so where were we? Greetings from, you're in Scotland, right, David? No, you're in the north of England. I'm never going to remember everybody. Phil, welcome. Nils, hey, how's it going in Norway? Did you buy some paper, Nils? And if so, what did you get? You asked about paper and I answered it, and I forgot what I said. The paper that I use. Did you get some paper, and are you happy with it? That's a question to answer. Gilles is greeting us from Quebec. Welcome, Gilles. Good to have you here. Let me see. Uh-oh. Whoa. Holy mackerel. Okay, yellow boxes just showed up all in my chat that I've never seen before, and I think they're somehow connected to money, because there's what's a CZK, by the way? Does anybody know? Czechoslovak krona, possibly? I don't know, but yeah, I now have more of them than I did 2 seconds ago. I'm going to answer this question because it's in a yellow box. Sorry for bombarding you with questions. Don't apologize, please. Do I think the 300 PPI rule is accurate or too conservative? Your prints look really gorgeous, by the way. Thank you very much. They don't. They really don't. I am not an expert printer, and you know, truth be told, I'm not really an expert photographer. I don't think. The pictures look good because they're very, very selectively chosen pictures. The ones that I show you, the ones that I frame, and what have you. I wish I could say they were all like that, but they're not. I personally think it is actually conservative, because at 300, that is when you're right up on the picture, you're getting the full benefit of that resolution, and nobody looks at photographs that closely. Those numbers that were devised and have been used for donkeys to give you a good ballpark of where you need to be for a normal person viewing a normal photograph in good lighting from a certain distance with good eyesight. Nobody has all of those things going on. It's either dark, or you're blind, or the picture's really small. So I think 300's more than good enough. I really do. You get above that, and I'm not sure that there's any visible benefit, and it does tend to cause problems, at least with my printer. I had the devil of a time printing yesterday on my Canon Pro 10. Every error code that thing can spit out, it spat out at me yesterday, and all I was trying to do was print one small print. Drove me nuts. I hope that answers the question. I think it's a safe setting. You'll never go wrong with it. You'll never wish you had more resolution than that. I don't believe. There's another yellow box question. What would you say are the biggest cons for using APS-C over full frame? What are the biggest cons? There are very few cons for using APS-C. There are loads of cons for using full frame, in my opinion. The pros that I think are important to remember are, with a crop frame camera, it's lighter, it's smaller, it's more compact. It is a great walking around in the woods camera. It's one of the reasons that most sports cameras are APS, well, not most, a lot of sports cameras are APS-C sized. They use far less data. You can get far more slices on a stack with one of these than you can when they're ginormous big files on the full frame camera. And there are other things related to quality, and this is going to be a difficult one to explain, I think. But when you're using a full frame camera with 60 megapixels, you get away with nothing. Not only does that camera show you every single beautiful part of your photograph, it also shows you every single flaw in it. Now, I'm not saying that we use a smaller sensor to cover up our flaws, but it does have a way of making retouching easier, of making the what am I trying to say? Your post-production editing is easier, I think, on a crop frame camera, especially when it comes to background stuff and dealing with haze. Yeah, and they're cheaper. There's a lot of reasons. I every time I test a new lens, I pull out the D850 and I put it on the rig and I shoot with it, and I wonder, why did I do that? I'm not as happy with the pictures. From my perspective, all I'm getting is a bigger screen to compose on. But I know that's a very superficial answer to a very important question. Maybe we'll talk about that in more detail later on. You asked a question of the community: has anybody tried focus bracketing with an autofocus lens plus an objective enlarger combo? Well, you can't do it with an objective and enlarger because the autofocus, your system has to have autofocus to be able to use that focus stacking, focus bracketing technology, because it's actually moving your lens, it's advancing the lens. So you couldn't do it that way, but I've used it with my macro lens, and for product photography anyway, I love it. And people are telling me that the new lenses are much better. The Z lenses from Nikon have much smaller step length. I haven't tried them yet. I haven't tried the Z Camera yet either. I'm sorry, there's a noise at the door. I think somebody might be knocking. Okay, getting back to the questions. Helen, welcome. That is a name I do not recognize. Are you new to this august body? Helen, if you are, welcome. I hope you come back. Curious is a fixture around here. Curious, loved your article on the focus stacking rig that you have invented. If you guys haven't seen Curious Scientist's post, you need to check it out. He has really refined this stacking rig that he's made. The amazing thing about this, you might not know this, is Curious made this up without taking apart a stack shot or without talking to anybody about how these things are made. He just designed it and built it and wrote the programming for it and put the thing together and has it and made it, and now is refining the process. That's pretty amazing to me. That's what an engineer does. Thinks it up and then builds it. So Curious, I'm impressed, and people are definitely going to need to look at that article. It's very well done. Good video. Good video. All right, let me see. Who did I miss? I missed somebody. Subject for future discussion from Gilles. AI in photography. Yeah. Where the new skill set will not be technical or artistic, but wordsmithing. AI in photography is going to be one of those things that has a brief moment, and then it's going to get boring as all get out. I just don't see it. I really don't. It's a good point, and I'll think about it more, and we'll bring it up as a conversation. The competition this month is harder than I thought to judge. And I'm going to tell you very briefly, if you were here on Tuesday, forgive me, this is a repeat of the rules, and I'll do it very, very quickly, just so as everybody knows. I'm going to institute a handicap system that goes back 6 months. Every time you are placed or get an honorable mention or win the competition, you are going to accumulate handicap points that will be on a retrospective 12-month rolling basis. At the end of the 13th month or at the end of the 12th month, your first handicap, if you won that first week those points fall off your handicap, so that it kind of keeps up with how you're doing. You get 1 point for an honorable mention, 2 points for a third place, 3 points for a second place, and for a win you get 5 points. And those points will stay with you until you've gone through the whole 12 months and then drop off the first month, add on the last. Those points will be taken off your score at the time of reckoning after each competition. So you will get a numerical score of between 0 for an extremely bad photograph to 100 for a perfect photograph. And then your handicap will be taken off that to give you a net score that will be compared to everybody else. Okay? If you've never won, never had an honorable mention, you get all of your points. Otherwise, you get a handicap. And that's what we're going to do from now on. I'm going to go back 6 months arbitrarily and start then and add up points. So for those of you who are 6 months, you'll get credit for 6 months of entries. So after 6 months, they'll start to drop off. Now, what was I going to say? Read my mind, somebody. Prizes, there will be prizes. The prizes in June or July and December or January are going to be the stereo and the wild card. Those two competitions are going to have big prizes. Like not big in size so much as big in you'll want these prizes. Okay, so they're the big ones to remember. And there was one other rule, can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, I do remember. I've changed the way I judge. Instead of doing what I used to do, which was just kind of gather the pictures from everybody and then do the judging, I decided that I needed to remove all possibility of impropriety so that from the outside you see exactly what I see. So what I'm doing is this. From now on, your pictures, when you submit them, will not be visible to the other entrants. They will not be visible to me. They will go into a box that the robots will guard. And they have strict orders on what to do if you try to look in the box. So what will happen is, when it's time for me to judge, I get a document sent to me automatically at the end of the month that contains every photograph. I have this already. Every photograph in no order with no names, just the name of the photograph. And what I do is I judge it in 10 categories. This is what I've always done. And I assign 1 to 10 points for each of the 10 categories, and you get a numeric score for your photograph. Only now, I have no idea who you are. Then at the end, we'll apply your handicaps, but not this month because we weren't able to get it done. It'll be next month, and then I'll have the winners. Somebody is going to want to ask, like Jamie did on Tuesday, what the 10 categories are. And I will tell you, but I am going to also publish a short article on how it is I judge these competitions. I am going to open a spreadsheet that I have been working on just so that I don't forget any of them. The categories that I use have apparently disappeared from the spreadsheet. Oh dear. Okay, well that's interesting. They are composition, color manipulation. You get points for impact, for consistency with the competition theme, for originality, focus, meaning if it's focus stacked, I'm going to explain what's in each of these categories in the article, but they're all pretty self-explanatory. Exposure, did I say? Focus, how you handle artifacts and other stacking-induced issues, or just editing in general. So what your post-production looks like. And then a couple of other things, but it comes out to 10, and they all make perfectly good sense. In some competitions, that all 10 won't count. I mean, you won't be focus stacking, say. We'll do some macro stuff where there is no focus stacking. In those cases, everybody gets a 10 for that category. So that's the way I'm doing it. Any questions about the competition? I think these are all very positive changes, by the way. I'm super happy with how it's going, and super grateful to Carlos for doing all of the software stuff to make it happen, especially the program that counts the number of words that I say and then ranks them. That's going to get old, I guarantee it. Okay, so where were we? Oh, I was looking at questions. You know, I have a sore throat after each of these events because I never normally talk during the day. Let me see. Question. This is from Phil A. Could you recommend stereo goggles, glasses, whatever they are, so we can get them ordered and on the way? That's a fantastic question. I don't know what they're called. Can I go get them? They're just across here. I'm afraid I took mine out of the box. Oh no, I kept the insert. This is what they're called. Hang on. I can't see myself there. That lady does not come with them. And, oh dear. The instructions are great, absolutely fantastic. I don't know what they say or even what they're talking about, but I think it's 3D Scope Mini is the name of it. Listen, that most people can view these things perfectly well just with cross-eyed vision, you know, like that. You just look cross-eyed at it and you'll fuse them with a little bit of practice. I can do it, but it gives me a terrible headache, so I don't. And this is what the glasses look like. They are unbelievably trendy. I like to wear them to the supermarket to attract attention. See? Actually, they're rather dangerous to wear other than looking at pictures, because you have too many things in front of you. Multiple choices of which direction to walk in. Oh, I've actually got the name on the bridge of the nose. It's either FD or Berezin. B-E-R. Well, I'll show you. Berezin. They're the spectacles you need. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can get them. But yeah, if you're going to use these, get them. Remember, when you're viewing stereo, you either have to have the pictures one way or the other. If you're doing cross-eyed, you have to have the pictures swapped. You can't look at them with these on a cross-eyed set, but we'll talk about that next week. All right, I am definitely going to run out of time if I don't get a move on here. Oh, lenses. That's the next most important thing. After the meeting last week, somebody left me a question and I wrote it down and lost it, and then another person asked me the same question day before yesterday and I wrote it down and lost it. I'll find them. I'll find the pieces of paper. I always do. But the question was the same. Allan, have you ever slapped a diopter on the front of an enlarger lens to see what it would do? And I had to answer quite frankly that no, I haven't. But it was on my mind from that moment hence, and I did. Let me show you. Well, you probably can see it clearly where it is. That's what I did, and I was quite pleasantly surprised, but I wanted to talk to you briefly about this setup. So what you can see here is a Raynox DCR 150 facing forward, then couple of adapters. One of them is the Nikon BR3 Yeah, BR3 or BR2, something like that. And then an adapter to the front, to the, I beg your pardon, to the rear of the enlarger lens. So the enlarger lens is backwards, and the mounted directly on the bellows in this case. I started out just mounting it on the camera, but it doesn't give you very much magnification. So this is what I thought would work. A reversed enlarger lens with basically a magnifying glass, a diopter in front of it to present it with a larger picture. And does it work? Yes, it does. It gives a very nice, very sharp image of about, with this amount of extension, about 2 times magnification. That's right at 150 millimeters. So it works like that. And I was proudly telling my friend Rik about it last night, about how that somebody had suggested this and I tried it and it worked. And he said, well, that's not how I would have done it, which that's not an uncommon thing to hear in a conversation like this. He wouldn't have done it that way. And I asked him to pray tell what he would have done. And that's what we're going to talk about, because after he told me, it made perfect sense. He thought that it would probably be better to put the Raynox between the primary lens, the enlarger lens, and the camera, like a relay lens. In fact, not like a relay lens, it would be a relay lens in that position. And we talked about why that would be, and it really comes down to, how would you normally use this lens? You'd normally use this lens this way, with your camera here and your subject out here somewhere, quite far away. And that would put a smaller image on the sensor. But you're going to turn it around so that your image can, your subject can be close and your image can be larger. Now, if you were going to use a diopter in the first orientation, you'd put it on the front, facing forwards. Make sense? That's the way you would have it. But we're doing this opposite. We're trying to create a large image of a very small thing. So what Rik said I needed to do was actually use the Raynox in reverse and in between the lens and the camera. So what we'd end up with, if we start here with the subject in front of the reversed enlarger lens, right on the back of the reversed enlarger lens, we would need the reversed. Oh, it's actually going to fit. No, it's not. No, it's not. The reversed Raynox, and then that would go on your tubes or your bellows to the camera. Now, I haven't done it yet. And I was actually going to do a live demonstration of taking a picture with it to see what it looked like, and I ran out of time because I have several things going on in the next few days, including another live event on Saturday that I was preparing for, and I just lost track of the time. You understand? There's a rule in my neighborhood, or there will be a rule in the neighborhood when everybody gets my memo. If you've ever thought it would be nice to have more power for your flashes if you were out in the field and you needed a battery and you wanted a really, really big battery, okay, the new rule is this: if your offspring leave an electrified scooter in somebody else's garden for more than 5 days, you can borrow the battery. Okay, new rule, pass that around. I think that should be standard everywhere. I did not take this battery out of a child's scooter. I bought it at the thrift shop. And I am going to show you 2 other things because they're relevant to photography. You won't believe that, but they are. I was checking out of the shop the day I found this other stuff. And as I was checking out, I saw behind the counter this. This looks like the Marquis de Sade's blood pressure cuff. Let me see if I can get a better picture for you of this. I think this one will show it a little bit better. Maybe. This thing. it's got a pivoty doodad on the end and electrical plugs all over it, and it comes with a. That's my laundry is finished. It comes with electrified pads. Seriously, I'm not joking. And all of this stuff was piled up on the table, and they were selling it for $5 because nobody knew what it was. And I thought, I'll spend $5 just to get a plate of aluminum and the grabby thing here and the hardware from it. But I was intrigued by what it was, and this is the important part. I took a picture of it just like this, piled up on the table, and I stuck it in Google image search. I don't know if you've ever used that thing. It instantly returned 17 photographs of similar but not exactly the same sublimation printers for coffee mugs. That's what this is. Who would have guessed it? I was blown away. It knew exactly what this bizarre contraption was, and that's what it is. And if you don't know what sublimation printing is, well, neither do I. Does anybody? Coincidence, maybe. You can call this a coincidence, but the week before, pad of paper, I thought, oh, I could always use a bit of extra paper. This is special paper, and at the bottom it tells you why. Whoops. If you can't read it, it says sublimation paper. This is the stuff you use in this to make your coffee mug prints. So I'm going to start making some merchandise. Does anybody want a coffee mug? I wouldn't get one of the first ones that I make because they're probably going to be toxic in some way. But anyway, how's that for a catch? There was only one other thing I wanted to show you, and then I swear I'll get back to the proper questions. But you know how professional photographers carry their oh, do you ever come across an old laptop case thing by Speck? Speck is a very famous British serial killer, by the way. I don't know why they chose his name. These make fantastic diffusers. They don't work on your computer, but they're great diffusers. I've always wanted one of those professional boxes that famous photographers carry their cameras around in. I don't even know what they're called. I can't pick it up. I'll pick up one end of it. Can you see that? It's an actual case. I think like Pete Townsend would carry his guitars around in it there. It's made by Rhino, or Top Rhino, and it's full of that rubbery stuff, and it's got big locking clasps on it. Look at that. You can't see it. I can't pick it up, but that's what the inside looks like. $5. Okay, where was I? Questions. Does anybody want to go thrift shopping with me? I think it would be fun, because almost everything I use in my photography has come from a thrift shop or made from that stuff. Ralph, hi from London, Ralph. Welcome. And Art, glad you made it. Suggestion. A subject. Oh, no, we've already covered that, haven't we? And we are going to talk about that, Gilles. I'm just checking up above, make sure I didn't miss anything. Slavek is greeting us from Poland. I met another Polish photographer yesterday, and I'm gonna try to pronounce his name. I practiced all last night. It's Kaz Kowalczyka. Do you know him? He's also in Poland. How about Arinius Voldzvik? Never heard of him? Okay, he's a photographer, a macro photographer in Poland, apparently. Very well respected. I was told to track him down and get him on the program because he's a nice chap. So I'll try it. Let me see. Oh, it's Groundhog Day. What does that actually mean? It's a movie, isn't it? That's something about a rat comes out the ground and gets scared and goes back, and you get another year of winter. I forget. Anyway, Lance, welcome. Mike from Phoenix. Lee's Unique Views. That's an interesting name. Is that the name of your business, I hope? You weren't born with that. You aren't of the Unique Views family of Louisiana, are you? Could be. Jamie, glad you made it, and I'm glad the video and audio is perfect on your end. It's yeah, we're getting better. Jan Nelson donated a Blackmagic switching thing box for me to manage all of the switching things you have to do in a live stream, and it was right when I moved last year, and something happened to the money. I think the movers took it. Well, I gave it to them for moving me. That's what actually happened, and yeah, I felt terrible about it. But I've saved up my pennies, and I'm getting that thing maybe this week. So that's fantastic. All right, so where was I? Oh, Bud made it. Welcome, Bud. I was going to say, oh, you reminded me the Photoshop thing was supposed to be this week. There is no way I can do it this week. This is the where Bud and I talk Photoshop. We're doing a more beginners-based one where we focus on just an introduction to the whole concept of editing with layers. And it's a pretty good discussion and lots of good examples. But I'm not going to try to cram it in this week because I have something tomorrow, then I have a live stream on Saturday. It'll be the next thing I do after that. The photo competition kind of gets in the way of that this week. Great. All right. So Alistair's welcoming us from Carlisle and reminding me that Carlisle is in Cumbria, not where I thought it was in Devon, which is good. Marilyn, how are you? Do you ever take macro photographs of flowers? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Would you excuse me 1 second? I'll go get one. Just chat amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. I'll keep talking. I'm heading back now. When I get an assistant, which I'm going to do, I am going to get an assistant to help me do this stuff. They'll go and do this. But yeah, that's one of my flowers. I do lots of flower photography. I just don't show it very much. I should do it more. You know what the name of that is? What would you name that? Smother Nature. That's what I called it. It's a present for my son, but we skipped Christmas this year, so I haven't given it to him yet. But yeah, I take pictures of flowers and plants and minerals and things like that. Mostly insects, though. Okay. Oh boy, I'm not gonna get to all of these questions, am I? Maybe I will. Let's see. I'll just keep going. And photographer 85 has probably oh yeah, he's saying I'm probably on the FBI watch list for shipping Decon 90 all over the world. No, I was already on the list. They just added this as an asterisk at the bottom that by the way, watch out, he's got Decon 90 on him. So yeah, you're right. Oh, Ulrich, you made it back from Pretoria, yes? I think that's where, yeah, I think that was where you said. And Gerard from the south of France. It's not summer there yet, though, is it? I don't think so. Let me see. Laura, you made it. I'm glad you did. You must sneak in here on your lunch break, is all I can think. Or Peoria takes an early day off on Thursdays. What is a good donation to cover shipping and bottle? I really don't care. Here's what's going to happen. I'll take the donations as they come in and I will bottle up the stuff as they are requested. And I will take the funds and I'll put them in a separate place. And when I have enough money to send all of the bottles to wherever they're going, I'll make a run to the post office. So conceivably, if we don't gather up any money and I don't have any extra, they might sit there for a while. But if somebody throws in a dozen bottles, and somebody throws in some money for shipping, then they'll all go out right away. So I don't care. It's up to you. They won't stay with me. I will eventually send them to you under my own steam if I have to. I'm just saying, if you can and want to, then it would be great. They were costing $13 to mail domestically because they have to go in a bottle in a box, so they're not envelopes. And I send them priority so that they don't. They kick them less priority. If you get just regular mail, they kick it to you, but priority, they handle it some. And if you're in Europe, I have no earthly idea. Try to send me a bottle, and then you'll know exactly how much it is. I'll find out and let you know. Just all I'm looking for is to get it out to you quicker. If I had the funds, I'd just do it, because this really is just as a favor to you guys. I thought it was a great idea, and I didn't expect such a response. But yeah, it's worth it. Newcastle upon Tyne. Angie, how are you? I like Newcastle. Oh no, I'm thinking of the brown ale, but there you go. Do I still recommend the use of ultrasonic cleaners for insects? Yes, Stuart, I do, but selectively. My interest has, over the last 5 years, really moved towards much smaller subjects. Not because, for a lot of different reasons. I just find them more engaging because they're not so commonly seen. And my thing is to try to present the very small insects in ways that are surprising and interesting to non-insect people. It just is what I've really come to enjoy. So I don't often have big passerless beetles that need to be cleaned of all the wood junk that's on them. But if I did, the first thing I would do would be scrub them down in some warm soapy water and throw them in the ultrasonic cleaner. I still have it. It's always ready to go. Never use abrasive powder in it. Never add anything to it. Just slightly warm water. Just barely lukewarm water. And always err on the side of less than more. All you're trying to do is loosen the heavy dirt. And it works. It works really well. So yes, I do use it, but just if you put a fairy wasp in there, which is less than 1 millimeter long and doesn't even have wings, it just has little sticks that come out of its back that have fluff on them, and that's what it flies with. It just sticks them up in the air and gets sucked off in the wind. Put that in an ultrasonic cleaner if you want to see something just poof in a bubble of detritus. Yeah, you can't do little things like that. So, Angie just got you got a wee macro. Good for you. Fantastic, aren't they? I just love them. The best thing that a company could have done was come out with an affordable rail that really is quality, and I just think wee macro hit it out of the park. And I bet you're happy with the I don't know, do they have an outlet in the UK, or did you just order it from China? Probably ordered it from China, but they're so good about their customer service. I haven't heard any complaints about them. I guess the people don't like to vent that stuff if there was a problem, but I haven't heard anybody say anything about it. So that's wonderful, and I'm glad you're happy with it. Phil, your state of California shakes regularly. That's because it's separating. It'll soon float away. That's what that shaking is that you're feeling. Oh, dearie me. How do you pronounce Jan? Shimek or Simek? I know a Simek. I've probably been pronouncing their name wrong all my life. I should read out that comment about how gorgeous my prints are again, but I won't put you through that. Angie is wondering, what is my experience with the Canon 65 MPE? Okay, I can tell you that the people that use it love it. I didn't get on with it, but I only had it for a short time. I didn't like it out at 4 and 5 times magnification. And then I met Andy Murray, who photographs soil mesofauna, things that are a tenth the size of most little insects. And he shoots with about 4.5 feet of extension tubes and an MPE 65 on the end, and his pictures are absolutely fantastic. So I've backpedaled. I used to say negative things about that lens. I should have said negative things about my ability to use that lens. I'm not very good with it. I couldn't get the kind of pictures I wanted, so it's not a lens for me. I rather enjoyed using the Chinese version that, gosh, what am I trying to think of? You know, the one I'm talking about, the 1 to 4x or 4.5x. That was fun to use this summer. I enjoyed it. But the MPE 65 really is a skill in and of itself. I think you are going to deal with diffraction at magnification no matter what you do. Well, you obviously are because of the extension that you're adding. But yeah, if you use it to your advantage, I think there are plenty of professionals who use it regularly. And Robert O'Toole, I don't know if you know him, check out his site. He's not a very friendly chap, but his site is absolutely top-notch, fantastic. It's called something. It's got a name. It reminds you of photography somehow. Somebody help me. What's Robert's website's name? I'm going to it to look. Chat amongst yourselves. It is close-up photography. I would never have guessed that. With only 1p between up and photography. That's it. I think that's the fancy way that it's spelled. Now my OBS thing has disappeared. There it is, back again. Okay, so yeah, I think you'll do fine with it. And if you take your time and learn how to use it really well, light is important, and just watch for diffraction softening. You're using it on an A7 III with the Wii Macro Rail and the Raynox 250. You probably need to be using the Raynox 150, I would guess. Yeah, and are you putting the Raynox in front of the lens or behind the lens? If you're using it, yeah, it'd be much the same as what we just talked about with the enlarger lens, I would think. Let me think about that. That's a good question. All right, Jan. Oh, no, that's photographer 85 is talking to Jan about the question he asked. Good. Another, it's GT Twin Cam from Norway. Welcome. And Angie, it's windy up there. Yeah. Gosh, those winters, I don't miss them at all. Have I or anybody else used LensPal for sensor cleaning? No, I wouldn't use LensPal for sensor cleaning. I had one and I used it for lens cleaning and I didn't like it for that. I use the swabs. I forget who makes them, the triangular looking things. I have to clean my sensor a lot. The trick is get them in the right size. If you get a full frame sensor cleaner for a full frame sensor and a crop for a crop. But I didn't like that pen thing. Maybe the maker of it can send me one if they've upgraded it, and I'll give it a try. But otherwise, I'm gonna count on you to let me know if it's any good. That was Al asking that, by the way. Oh, you've done the swab cleanings. Oh, you've still got particles stuck on there. Oh, yeah. Have you tried the dishwasher? If you have done a wet cleaning, here's a tip. And this is me telling Al, who's a pro from way back, giving him a camera tip. But if you've wet cleaned it with proper sensor cleaners and you still have welded on gunk, take your camera to a camera shop and have a pro do it. Nothing good is going to come from digging around in there. That's my 2 cents worth. Victor, thank you so much. That was very generous of you. Victor just tossed a 10 spot in the bucket. That's very kind. Thank you. Nils, Decon 90 is mainly potash solution, potassium hydroxide, right? Can it be substituted with a weak solution of sodium hydroxide? Yes, it can. It absolutely can. It really is just lie, is what I tell everybody. But it also has like 15 different surfactants and other surface acting agents, all of which are specific for the kind of molecules that they're going to encase and lift off you to get rid of your radiation contamination. So it's much more complicated. Well, I'm trying to remember what's in it, and the bottle's right bumping into my elbow. Yeah, it's got... no, it doesn't tell you what's in it, so you can't make any yourself. But it does have all kinds of surface acting agents in it, and it's very dangerous. This is no different than sloshing around a bottle of drain opener, and you're careful with that, right? You be careful with this. It will burn your skin, it will burn your eyes, and it will burn the heck out of little insects. Dip and paint, don't soak. But yeah, I mean, Nils, I said the other day that this has sodium hydroxide in it, but I meant potash, and either way, it's powerful. You could probably get away with that, but let me know what happens when you try. Righty ho, let me see, where are we? I think we might get all of the questions done. Stephen says hi. Hi, Stephen. Who's getting access to a 105 macro? Jan is, okay. The in-camera focus bracketing, if you're talking about the Nikon 105, the Z105 or the old micro nickel 105, either way, if you have a D850, say, that does the focus bracketing, and that lens is perfect for it. In fact, it's if Bud is still on, Bud, let us know. Do you use the new Z105 with your D850? Do you use the focus bracketing? I hear it's just way far advanced over the old one, and the old one was great. So yeah, I think you absolutely can use it. I look forward to hearing what you say. When you come back, let us know. Oh, Victor, you're in Israel. That's two folks we have in Israel. Moshe's from Israel as well. Sense of humor. What sense of humor? Do I have a sense of humor? This is just how I am. I really am. All right, so I'll let Jan and Photographer 85 chit-chat about the focus bracketing. Do I ever use a light meter? Yeah, I do, Lee, but rarely. I use one if I'm trying a completely novel light setup. Of course, I've been doing this a long time, and I generally use the same lighting, and I know what I'm going to get. But for example, I was just talking about borrowing Robert's lens, Robert's 65.5 magnification phase contrast objective. You can actually see the phase ring in it. Oh, let me see if I can see it. See that black ring? Isn't that cool? So yeah, to use this, I'm going to create a light box. So I'm going to have flash underneath the subject that's going to be coming from all angles except straight through, where I'll have a little a flag there, and I have no idea how much light's going to come through that thing, so I will use a light meter for that, and to get a feel for where I'm starting out, and make my adjustments from there. It's no different than using a light meter in the studio when you photographed Twiggy that time. Same thing. Just find out where your light is and then use it to adjust the settings to get good exposure. Exposure was one of the other things that I judge in the competition, by the way. You're more likely to lose points for blown highlights than blown shadows. Just saying. GT Twin Cam shoots full frame exclusively, but it's a D3, 12 megapixel, and a D750, 24 megapixel. For macro, I wish I also had a crop camera. You do raise an important point, GT Twin, and that is your I don't know if I know your pro camera does this, your 3, but I don't know about the 750. But you can actually shoot in crop mode on the full frame cameras, and I forgot to mention that. I don't do it, to be honest. If I'm going to that much trouble, I use the whole sensor, but you can do that. I think your best bet is a crop frame camera for macro. I really do. Whenever you add up all the points, there's more positives to the crop than the full frame, in my personal opinion. The P10 Canon has a Lightroom Photoshop add-in called Print Studio Pro that I think makes printing simpler. It didn't work for me, Phil. In fact, it added a layer of complications to it for me. I print straight out of Photoshop, and it's the problem was not with any of that. It didn't like the paper. The paper I was using wasn't grabbed by the rollers, so it would be one failed attempt after another. I ended up cleaning the rollers and taking them out and putting it back together. It was a half a day for one picture. I know the problem is I don't use it enough. I don't use it every day, and that's why when I do use it, I get in trouble with it. What time is it? Oh, we've run over a little bit, but we'll finish up because I'm going to get to the rest of these questions. Jan, thank you for the compliment. I really do appreciate it. This is my favorite thing to do, by the way. Well, it's my second favorite thing to do. And yeah, this is the best thing I ever did on this channel was to start doing this, because I think it just fills in all the gaps. It's what we miss when we're just doing the videos. The videos are great, and it's a great opportunity to give you a subject all well thought out and laid out so that you can get the information. But somewhere you need the mortar to go between the bricks, and that's what this is. It's just a chance to over and over again keep hitting the little points that are important, and I think this is good for the channel, and it's certainly fun for me. I love getting to hang out with you guys. And let me see, we were down to Nils's question. Oh, you invested in an Epson Pro, the Epson Pro luster and a box of Canson Infinity Platine. Yeah, that rag is difficult to print on. Watch a lot of YouTube videos on it first, because that's the stuff that gets stuck in your printer. But I love that Epson Pro luster. I've got a box of that. I use the Canon Pro luster. Very, very nice paper. Curious is telling me that he just tested his rig in vertical mode. Have you done a video of that, Curious, by any chance? If you have, definitely let us know when you're going to put that up, because I'd like to see that. I'm thinking of a redesign of my vertical mode thanks to stuff I've learned from Graham. Graham of Black Bic Biro Ball, and his horizontal rig and new vertical rig, and I've made some modifications to that, and I'm going to give that a try here in the spring when I have a little more time. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Let's see. A couple of questions left, and we'll be done. Let me see. Have we got a link to Curious's Super Stacker? Yeah, I'll find you a link, and I will put it in the program description right after this. And I bet if Curious is still here, he will put it in the chat right now, but I will too as well. I mean, I am a Patreon supporter of Curious, so I get the notification when stuff comes out, and I've got the link on my computer right now, so I'll put it in the notes, and just check there in a few minutes. I'll have them up maybe 10 minutes after we get done. Preban from Norway uses a Panasonic G9. Very nice. Hang on a sec. Which camera is best for photography? Out of what? The G9? That's the only one you list, isn't it? Which camera is best for macro photography? Well, the camera is kind of beside it's the least important part. It really is. It's for whether your macro's in the field or in the studio, the camera is a support system for a sensor, and the sensor is the recording mechanism for the light you're putting on it. So the important stuff are your flashes, your diffusion, your lens, the whatever you're using to hold it still. All of those things are more important than the camera. If your camera has features, there are some things your camera has to have. I did an article on this and I listed all of the things that your camera needs to have. I'll see if I can find it. I'll try to put that in the show notes. Yes, I will. I'll link it in the show notes. But if you can get a camera that has a remote, that is important. I once bought a camera and it didn't have a remote plug-in, so you couldn't fire it remotely. It's got to have that. Something that has a hot shoe for a flash. Some cameras don't even have that. So there are things that you need. I'll find the article. I'll put it in the description and you can see it from there. And then come back next week if you have another question, or Tuesday. We do this on Tuesday as well, but it's at night. Let me see. So that was the question. What camera is best for macro photography? In my personal opinion, I find it hard to beat the D7500 by Nikon. Which would be the equivalent of the, correct me if I'm wrong, the Z6 Nikon. I know people who are using the Canon R3. Is it the R3? Is that the big one? Not the big one, the R7 then. Whichever one is the smaller one. Both of those digital mirrorless cameras are supposedly great for macro. You just can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Just get a decent camera, you'll be fine. Let's talk about lenses next time. Curious is saying that his message got deleted. I think that's right. You can't put links in the chat. Yeah, you can't. I'll put it in the show description. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to. Yeah, that was a problem. It just removes links so that people can't come on here and advertise stuff. So I'll do it myself. We're about. Are we? Oh gosh, guys, there's. Oh my heavens, there's dozens and dozens of more questions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take these and answer. Next week, I promise not to bring show and tell. That's a shame because I rather enjoyed that. That was good fun. But I am going to answer some of these. The ones I can answer quickly, I'll answer them in the description, okay? Because it's now 1:15, and I'm going to get in trouble if I don't call it quits. I would just go on and on and on because this is what I do, is talk macro. Interesting, that coincidence. That's also the name of the thing that we're doing. So yeah, I will. No, I'm going to answer this next one because Photographer 85 asks, in the live stream on Tuesday, I mentioned that you tried the Raynox with the El Nikkor. Yeah, that's what we just covered there. I did it one way and Rik suggested we do it the other. What I'm going to do is I'll probably do a video on that because it's interesting, the logic that he used to make the recommendation. And when I asked him about it, it turns out to be a much more complicated topic than you'd think. Because the first question I had was when he said use the Raynox in reverse. And I said, well, if we're doing it that way, why wouldn't we use the Raynox in the forward orientation like we did with the El Nikkor last week? And the answer was, well, it's kind of complicated. It's the opposite of what the formulas would suggest. So there's a lot more to it than just one way of doing it. So yeah, we'll talk about that when we've got more time. All right, so I am going to pull the plug on this because otherwise I'll just keep talking, like I said. Let me see if there's anything super pressing. Oh, Jamie's got a comment about sublimation heat mug presses. He has 2 of them. You have two of them? What you need two of them for? I can't even figure out how to operate one. It must have a control box somewhere, right? What do you plug these into? Yeah, Jamie, get in touch. Let me know what you do with those, because I tried just plugging them in the wall and they just started to smoke. All right, I am going to go get some coffee because I have got a photo competition to judge. And I will be back with you guys on Patreon, folks, 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. If you're a Patreoner, if you're not a Patreoner, become one and then join us on Saturday. That's where we do this, only you talk as well. So it forces me not to talk some. Then on Tuesday, another one of these. On Thursday, another one of these. Next week, videos. Got a couple of those coming out. And the photography competition. Congratulations to the winner. Whoever you are, you will have earned it. And a video of me judging that will come out as soon as I've recorded it, which will be after this. So I'm gonna, you know what we didn't do? We didn't get into all the finer points of the objectives. We'll do it next time. Thanks again to Robert. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week, or this week, or sometime. Take care. Goodbye. Where's my mouse? Oh, my pointer disappeared again, and I made it yellow. Here it is.